الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق أجمعين محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. The subject of fiqh, and we started discussing the najis things or najis objects, and we explained that najis are those things which are originally or by itself is najis. Other things which come across with that become mutanajjis or a contaminated najis. So we are discussing about original objects which are regarded as unpurified or najis. We discussed about the urine and stool and the dead body, and now we come to the number 4 of them is blood. Issue 97. The blood of a human being and of every animal whose blood gushes forth when its large vein is cut is najis. The blood of an animal like a fish or an insect like mosquito is tahir because it does not gush forth. So the blood here saying blood of whom is najis? Every blood, or certain bloods are najis, certain are tahir. So he said blood of a human being is najis. That is all human being, their blood is najis. Secondly, blood of animals, but only those animals when they are slaughtered, their blood will gush out. So their blood is najis. Otherwise, some animals in which when they are slaughtered, they do not have circulatory system and their blood will not gush, their blood is not najis. Like blood of a fly or blood of a mosquito, blood of some small animals, insects, they have a blood, but that blood is not, they are not of that type which their blood is gushing while slaughtering them. So their blood is not najis. So he said the najis one, the blood of a human being, and the blood of those animals who have a jugular vein, when they are slaughtered, their blood will gush out. Issue 98. If an animal whose meat is halal to eat is slaughtered in accordance with the method prescribed by Sharia and enough blood flows out, the blood of which is still left in its body is tahir. However, the blood which goes back into the body of the animal due to breath or because of its head having been at a higher level at the time of its slaughtering is najis. Here discussing a practical problem at time of slaughtering the animal. When you slaughter the animal, some of the blood will come out. If we discuss about the slaughtering way, in Sharia they said the 4 veins is called veins, though medically they are not a vein, 2 jugular veins and then the trachea and then esophagus. But because both are like pipes, so they are called, the word in Arabic is like veins, but word to word translation will not come like anatomy. Anyhow, these 4 to be cut, you see when the trachea is cut, then there is no oxygen in them. And when the jugular veins are cut, and below the jugular veins are the carotid artery cut, then the amount of blood will be reduced to the brain tremendously. And the animal in 3 seconds will lose consciousness. And when the animal loses consciousness because lack of oxygen, he will get an epilepsy type situation, these jerks. These jerks of the animal are not because animal feeling pain and because of pain is suffering. No. These are because of the brain is getting shortage of oxygen, and that will lead to this situation. So that is the most easy way to slaughter the animal without pain. According to Sharia, then the knife is recommended to be very sharp, and you slaughter the animal in one time, not 2-3 times, because it is sharp, so the animal will feel less pain. And you know, sometimes the injury, if it comes very sharp, quickly, the one will not feel pain. After some time, one will feel pain, and that is because of inflammation, or what you call stretch receptors. Because cutting quickly will not give pain in many times, you know. Probably it happened to you. Sometimes your finger or your hand is cut and you are not aware of it, and later on you see there is blood. After 1 minute you feel that it is little painful, and you look why it is painful, why it is itching, and you see blood is coming out. Why? Because if it comes sharp at the beginning, there is no pain in it. When blood will come out and inflammation happen, it will, volume will increase, will stimulate the stretch receptors, and then the nerves will feel pain and itching and of the pain in that. So the animal, when the knife is coming quickly, many times the animal will not feel pain of the knife. Secondly, in 3 seconds, usually he will lose consciousness. Again, there is no pain. And then these jerks which are happening, it will squeeze blood from all the muscles and, let us say, fat and whatever internal tissues, will squeeze the blood will come out. That blood which usually comes out is naturally najis, as we see it. Blood of the animal is najis. But still inside the body of the animal, certain blood will remain, you know, in the arteries, in the veins. Not 100% blood will goes out. What about that blood which remain inside after slaughtering, and after a sufficient amount of blood comes out? He said whatever remains inside the body is regarded as tahir, is not najis. So the meat of that animal become tahir, and if there is little blood inside remain, and that is tahir. But sometimes what happens when the animal is slaughtered, if the animal will take a breath and the blood will go to the trachea and will go to the lung, is that also tahir? He said no, that is not tahir, because that blood from outside went inside. We are talking blood which remains in the arteries and in the veins, in the muscles or in the intestine. That is one tahir. But if it is inhaled again by the animal, or because when the animal is slaughtered, instead of his head to be down, so the blood will go down, his head is taken up, and the blood returned back to the esophagus or to the trachea or to the body of the animal. Naturally, that is external blood, and that is najis. So one type of the blood which is tahir, he said the blood which remain in the flesh of the animal after being slaughtered, and after enough blood, usual blood, comes out from the remaining blood, is regarded as tahir. But the only thing that we should be aware, it should not be a returned blood from outside inside. Actually, that is najis and has to be washed, to be cleaned. Issue 99. As a recommended precaution, one should refrain from eating an egg which has even the smallest amount of blood in it. However, if the blood is in the yolk, the yellow portion, the albumin, the white portion, will be tahir, as long as the skin over the yolk is not torn. You see, this is a practical problem. Sometimes you open the egg and you see inside the yolk there is a red spot of blood. Is that blood najis or tahir? Well, he said as a precaution, and he used recommended precaution. Some ulama said as obligatory precaution. They take it as a blood, and they say that is najis. But do you need to throw all the egg out or only the yolk? Is there? That's the question. Because the yolk is separated by skin, completely separated from the albumin around. So if you take that out, the albumin is not becoming najis, because they are not in touch together. Only the yolk is najis, you throw it out, but the albumin, the white portion of the egg, is tahir, and you can use that for eating. So he said, as recommended, take it as najis, but other ulama said no, as an obligatory precaution. This is a blood, and every blood is najis, and that blood is najis as well. Issue 100, the blood which is sometimes seen while milking an animal is najis and makes the milk najis. Well, if the animal has an infection, or there is too much milking, or whatever medical problem is there for the animal, with the milk, blood will come. We cannot say that the blood is tahir, because the blood is najis, and if it comes to the milk, all the milk will become najis. You cannot make the milk tahir to wash it unless you wash it when there is no milk remains, and naturally no benefit. So one has to be careful when they milk the animals. They should not be very harsh, so that the blood comes out, otherwise we'll spoil all the milk. Issue 101, if the blood which comes from inside the teeth vanishes as it gets mixed with the saliva is tahir. Now the question about the blood in the mouth. The blood is najis, but if it is too much and mixed with saliva, and saliva get blood, so the saliva become najis, and you cannot swallow your saliva if it is najis, because we are not allowed to eat or drink any najis thing. We are not allowed. So we have to continue throwing the saliva out till the blood stops. But sometimes there is so little blood, when it mixes with saliva, you don't see there is a blood in saliva, very little. They said this is mustahlak, consumed amount of blood. You can't say physically or apparently there is a blood. Okay, in microscope you might see a few red blood cell, but Shariat will not go by microscope. You say saliva now, if you spit, it looks white, there is no blood. Theoretically, maybe small amount of blood is there, it will not show in color. So I said, if it is so much small amount which is regarded as consumed, naturally saliva by itself is tahir and will not make the mouth najis. This word consumed is used in many places, because the Sharia is looking to what apparently looks, not in laboratory. If you test it, you will find there is 1 per million a drop of blood. It will not work in that way. So if you look to it, the saliva is white, so there is no blood. Simple as that. Okay, maybe theoretically speaking, by microscope you can find some red blood cell, but that is not to be taken into consideration. So say it is consumed. If it is consumed, then, but if you see the saliva is red, for example, even a little reddish point, so if it is red, then it is najis, of course, and one has to spit the saliva out. Issue 102, if the blood which dries under the nail or skin on account of being hurt can no longer be called blood, it is tahir. But if it is blood and is seen as such, then it is najis. And if a hole appears in the nail or skin, and if it is difficult to remove the blood and to make it tahir for the purpose of wudu or ghusl, then one should perform tayammum. That is another practical example. Sometimes your nail is hurt and then blood is collected below the nail. After a few days the nail will fall, and what is there is a dried blood. Well, if it is a fresh and if it is a blood, naturally it is najis. But usually after a few days it will turn to something else and will not be regarded as a blood, will not be blood, though there is some inflammation is there, but is not blood. And if the nail fall after, let us say, 10-15 days, if the nail fall and that it looks dark in color, dark blue in color or black in color, but it is not a blood, because due to fermentation the blood has been changed in that process and it become type of inflammation, inflammatory tissue. So it's not regarded as a blood and is not najis. But if it is in the beginning and it is najis, naturally you cannot wash it or remove it, then you cannot perform wudu and you put tayammum. I mean, practically from medical point of view, the way is to make a hole and let the blood come out, so pain also will be reduced. It is very painful because it separates the nail from the skin below it, you know. It will be very painful. The blood which comes below, it will separate the nail from the tissue below it, is very painful. And you come to the doctor in emergency, it's very painful. So what the doctor will do, they put a hot nail, hot needle, and it will open a hole in the nail. The blood will come out and the patient will get relief. There is no pain because no pressure. But still little is there in the first few days. Still it is a fresh blood. So now if one has to do wudu, how to do wudu? The wudu will make it najis. He said it will change to tayammum. But if it is not opened and it remains closed, and after 10-15 days when it changed its color and is no more blood, not regarded blood, actually this is one of the transformation. The blood has been transformed to something else. The transformation will come as one of the mutahirat if something been transformed from one state to another state. Like let us say the wine is being transformed to vinegar, and now the vinegar is tahir, though it was wine before, but transformation happened. So here it was a blood before, but now has been transformed to another type of tissue and is regarded as tahir. So if it is not a blood or a fresh blood, then it becomes tahir, otherwise it is najis. Issue 103. If a person cannot discern whether it is a dried blood under the skin or that the flesh has turned that way because of being hid, well, it is tahir. You know, if I cannot say that is it the skin changing its shape or it is a blood there. It's not very clear blood because red blood is not coming out, but it looks changing the color into blue. Well, it was before tahir, and now I am not sure what has been contaminated with the blood or not. So the general rule, what you said, that we regard it as tahir, because I don't know that there is a blood. It may not be blood, you know. Maybe the tissue itself is getting discoloration, but the blood is not coming out. Actually, the blood may leave the capillaries and go into intracellular tissue or external cellular tissue, but it is inside the tissue. It's not coming out of the skin. That is why it gives the blue change, but it is not blood which is coming out. And that is tahir because there is no blood actually. But as you see, I mean, they give a practical example from life. People face these situations and is explaining them. 104. Even a small particle of blood falling in the food while it is being boiled will make the entire food together with its container najis, as per obligatory precaution, and boiling heat or fire does not make it tahir. Some people think that the fire will make it tahir, or if it is boiling, make it tahir. Maybe they take it from the idea of that it is najis because of bacteria or infection, and then if it is boiling or heat, then that will kill the bacteria. I mean, that is how general people will think. He said no, that is not true. If the mother is cooking at home, for example, and its finger injured and a small drop of blood is there in the oven, it will make all the food as najis and has to be thrown out. And even the container itself is najis, has to be washed, you know. So we will not say that, well, now it's boiling and it will be tahir. It will not be tahir by boiling or by cooking or by fire or heat. No, all those will not make it tahir. See, many people ask this question, you know, that is why they put it here, because these are practical problems asked by people. Issue 105. When a wound is healing and pus forms around it, that substance is tahir if it is not known to have been mixed with the blood. Again, practical example, if the injury is superficial, you see always there is ooze of pus. That pus may not have bacteria actually, but it is the albumin of the body is coming, of the blood is coming out. If you put, let us say, a cotton, is not becoming red because there is no blood in it. It is pus, you know. So you want to say that if there is no blood, then it is tahir. It is not najis. If there is a blood, of course, it's najis. But if there is no blood, only there is ooze of the pus from the body, which is actually the white blood cells sometimes comes out because of an inflammatory process, but there is no blood in it, so that is tahir, that is not najis. Okay. Come to 6 and 7, dogs and pigs. Issue 106. The dogs and pigs which live on land are najis, and even their hair, bones, paws and nails, and every liquid substance of their body is najis. However, sea dogs and pigs are tahir. Well, there is a claim that there are certain animals in the sea who are called dog and pig, so it is sea dog and pig. I don't know what type of animal, but in certain areas maybe they call certain sea animals as dog and pig. They look similar to that. So what you want to say, that we are talking about dogs and pigs of the land, not of the sea. Of the sea, if anything is there, that is tahir, not that we're talking about. But the dogs and pigs, their body is najis, and all parts of their body, their hair and their nail and their bones and their liquids coming, saliva and so on, every part of them is najis. So if dog lick hand of someone, the saliva is najis and has to be washed. Or if you lick the cloth and if by saliva transferred to the cloth, then cloth become contaminated, has to be washed. So you say all their parts are najis. But if you put your hand on a dog and the dog is dry and your hand is dry, will not be najis. It will come, najasat will be transferred if there is a humidity or there is water in it. If it's dry, the dryness will not transfer najasat. So that is about dog and pig, and we come to number 8, the kafir. Issue 107, an infidel, that is to say a person who does not believe in Allah and His oneness, is najis. Similarly, ghulat, the extremists who believe in any of the holy 12 Imams as God, or that they are incarnations of God, and Khawarij and Nawasib who express enmity towards the holy Imams are also najis. And similar is the case of those who deny prophethood or any of the necessary laws of Islam, like prayer and fasting, which are believed by the Muslims as a part of Islam and which they also know as such. As regards the people of the book, that is to say the Jews and the Christians who do not accept the prophethood of Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, peace be upon him, and his progeny, they are commonly considered najis, but it is not improbable that they are tahir. However, it is better to avoid them. See here, there are many points in one issue mentioned. What is the definition of kafir, the infidel or non-believer? What do you say? You say those who do not believe in Allah or in attributes of Allah, oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So somebody is atheist, he do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is one of the types of kafir. The second type of kafir, he believe in Allah and he deny prophethood of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Again, he deny what Allah has said as a messenger. So he said he is non-believer. The third type, he believe in Allah, believe in the prophethood of Prophet Muhammad, but deny a known parts of Islam, a known tenets of Islam, like prayer or fasting, which every Muslim knows. The prayer is obligatory in Islam. Fasting is obligatory in Islam. We say, no, I don't believe in a prayer. Prayer is not this. I am Muslim, but prayer is not important. Fasting is not part of Islam. No. Well, that also become a kafir. Why? Because he deny what the Prophet has said. These are clear things said by the Prophet. His denial to that is denying actually the Prophet. And denying the Prophet is denying what Allah has sent as a prophet or messenger to mankind. But he added that if he know as such, I mean if he knows that in Islam there is a prayer, there is fast, there is hajj, there is a religious tax of zakat and so on, khums or zakat, but if he denied because he do not know it, it is part of Islam. Because if he's not educated and he's ignorant and he thinks these things are not part of Islam, then his denial will not go to denial of the Prophet. I think these are not part of Islam, so he denied them. In such case, he will not be kafir. But well, he's in a wrong idea, but it's not kafir. But if you know that the Muslims believe in that, but he said, no, in my mind, I do not accept it. So it means he is not accepting what the Prophet has said. So that is also another situation of a kafir. Now, some other points, ulama said, the Muslim is any who relate himself to Islam. If you ask him, what is your religion? He say, I am Muslim. So anybody who relate himself to Islam is regarded as Muslim. But some other ulama said, no, that is not sufficient. He should relate and believe in whatever general practices done by the Muslims. It is known in Islam there is a prayer, there is fast, there is hajj, pilgrimage and zakat and so on. If he say I am Muslim and he do not do that and do not believe in that, literally he cannot be regarded as Muslim. There are some sects in which they say that we are Muslim, but they do not pray, do not fast, do not go for hajj, have no mosque and so on, and still they say we are part of the Muslim world. No. So according to ulama, they are not part, because they deny the known facts of Islamic religious duties while they know about it. Now, if they don't know, as we said, it is out of ignorance. Then this is not a sect. These are individuals. Maybe they do not know. He mentioned about ghulat and khawarij. Ghulat are the extremists. What they say our 12 imams or the Prophet, they have ability that are like a small God. They are God also. Or they are independent in their giving, let us say, livelihood to people or helping people or that, and they are independent of God. So that is actually they are Lord like God is a Lord. That is called ghulat, extremist in that. It is not true. We have only one God. Imams are not God. The Prophet is not God. Or some believe that their spirit is part of God, like incarnation. Said there is no incarnation. God is God and a human being is created by God. So you cannot believe that our imams or our Prophet is having, has a divine nature, or his soul is part of God, but also partly he is a human being. Say no, that is not possible. He is a human being. His soul is like, okay, he is infallible human being, he is a great human being, he has a great knowledge. All that is true about them. They are infallible, they are sinless, All that is true, but they are not part of God. They are created by Almighty God. Even the Imams, they told the Shias, نزهونا عن الربوبية وقلنا فينا ما شئتم ولن تبلغوا. You bring us below to being Lord. Don't say that we are Lord. And then you praise us as much as you like. You will not praise us sufficiently. Whatever we make them high, they are actually, we make them below what they really are high. We don't know their greatness. But they are very, very great, right? But not as Lord, not as God, no. As a great human being or creatures of Almighty God. So that is a limit. So it said there's ghali. The opposite of that are those who feel hatred to Ahlul Bayt for any reason. It's called nawasib. Those who feel hatred also, they are regarded as kafir, as non-believer. Though they say we believe in Islam, we believe in Quran, we believe in Prophet Muhammad, but we hate Imam Ali, we hate Imam Hassan, we hate Imam Hussain, they are regarded actually as nasibi. And in the tradition they said they are in the day of judgment much worse than other non-believers. These are much worse than others who hate Ahlul Bayt salamullahi alayhim. Khawarij are those who fought with Imam Ali, and also they hate Imam Ali. Because of that, they are a special group. Some of them till today are available, in certain countries, certain Arab countries. Certain are Kharijis, but probably the Kharijis of today are not hating Imam Ali, not feeling enmity to Imam Ali. But those before of them, they had that enmity to Imam Ali. So he gives that definition that they are regarded as kafir. So this is the definition of kafir. Now we come to the other group he mentioned, what is used, Ahlul Kitab, or people of the book. People who have divine book, but maybe it was changed by the people after the Prophet by time. I mean, the Jews who have a divine book, that the Prophet Moses is a true prophet of Almighty God, but they have changed the beliefs of Prophet Moses. Or the Christians who believe in Jesus as a prophet of God, as messenger of God, but then they made idea of his part of God and so on. That is changed actually. So the origin of their religion is a true and genuine religion, not like, let us say, atheists or idol worshippers or others. So that is why they are separate, called Ahlul Kitab, people of a book, of a divine book, though that divine book is being changed, but still originally they had a proper and a true divine book from God. Well, we say generally there are two views among the fuqaha. Some said because they deny prophethood of Prophet Muhammad, which is a fact and known by all Muslims, and even in the Old and the New Testament there are many attributes or even name of Prophet Muhammad is there, so they deny it in insisting, so they are actually regarded as non-believer, as a kafir. Others said no, though they are non-believer, but because originally their belief is right and their belief is divine belief, and they deny it because they think these attributes are not to this Muhammad. Somebody else will come and is called Muhammad, not this one. So because of that they are regarded as tahir. So these two views you might see it in fiqh. But it say according to Ayatullah Sistani, he said it commonly considered najis, but it is not improbable that they are tahir. However, it is better to avoid them. It's better to avoid them here because as you see that they do not avoid from najis things. For them, wine and the meat of pig or dog or other najis things are not najis. So they are actually contaminated with najasat. So it's better to avoid them. Actually, other ulama said, if they do not wash their hand, they cannot be regarded as tahir. But if you see them, they come and wash their hand, well, they become tahir, according to view of ulama who said they are originally tahir, but they are contaminated with najasat. So these are the views about the kafir. 108. The entire body of a kafir, including his hair and nails and all liquid substance of his body, are najis. When we say that he is najis, naturally entire body is najis. Even hair, if fall down from his body, is najis, or liquid. If you drink water in a glass, that water get contaminated with his body, is becoming najis. 109. If the parents, paternal grandmother and paternal grandfather of a minor child are all kafir, that child is najis, except when he is intelligent enough and professes Islam. When even one person from his parents or grandparents is a Muslim, the child is tahir. The details will be explained in Rule 217. About the child, because he is now not having independency in faith, he cannot be considered as a Muslim or a kafir. So if his parents or grandparents are all non-believers, so the child is regarded as najis. So if the child touches something, it becomes najis. But if one of his parents or grandparents is a Muslim, is regarded the child as tahir till the time he becomes adult. When he is adult now, he can decide to be a Muslim or not. Then he will be dealt accordingly after he is an adult. Issue 110. A person about whom it is not known whether he is a Muslim or not, and if no signs exist to establish him as a Muslim, he will be considered tahir, but he will not have the privilege of a Muslim, like he cannot marry a Muslim woman, or can he be buried in a Muslim cemetery. You see, if somebody we do not know he is Muslim or not, and there is no sign to show that he is Muslim or not, well, say generally everything is tahir unless we know otherwise. So generally we'll take him as a tahir. But can we put the issues of Muslim upon him if he dies, is buried in a Muslim cemetery, or dealt as a Muslim? We said no. Other rules and ruling are different. But we are talking about taharat, about tahir or najis, purify or not to purify. Not all issues will be the same. On this issue, because everything is tahir, unless you know it is najis and you don't know najis or not, so is it taken as tahir. Issue 111. Any person who abuses any of the 12 holy imams on account of enmity is najis. Again, this is a issue which is mentioned before, but now elaboration of more examples. If he abuses one of the 12 imams because he turned back to Nasibi, and we said the Nasibi who hate one of the imams is regarded as a kafir and is the worst type of kafir, so naturally is becoming najis, so the abuse, because that is sign of enmity, sign of disrespect, is regarded as najis. Well, some practical questions are there. They said, what about Ismailis who believe in 6 imams till Imam al-Sadiq, but do not believe Imam al-Kadhim or Imam al-Rida alayhim salam and other 6 imams, the remaining imam, as an imam? They think Ismail, son of Imam al-Sadiq, is the imam and then descendant of Ismail. So what about them? Are they tahir or najis? Well, if they do not feel enmity against Imam al-Kadhim or Imam al-Rida or Imam al-Jawad or the other imams, but do not believe in their imamat, but not with enmity, they are tahir. But if they believe enmity, they said, oh, this is a very bad person. Imamat is in his brother and he claimed to be imam, I hate him, so they become like Nasibi. But generally, it looks they do not talk about the rest of it. They say we believe Ismail, son of Imam Sadiq, is the Imam, and then from Ismail till today, whoever is their Imam of till today, they think Imamate is continuous like that. So that is another practical application for this. This is sufficient, and the rest, inshallah, will continue in the next session. والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.